Good afternoon, everybody. I am Professor Jeremy Taveray. I am the Dean of the Faculty of Life Sciences here at the University of Bristol. A very warm, sunny welcome to you all. I'm sure it's going to last for half an hour. A very, very special welcome to members of Henrietta Lacks' family who have come all the way from America to be with us today. To my Lord Lieutenant, High Sheriff and Lord Mayor of Bristol, welcome. And to our virtual global audience, as we are honoured that today's event is being streamed live around the world as part of the HeLa 100 virtual colloquium. HeLa 100 is the Lacks family-led celebration honouring Henrietta Lacks' impact 70 years after the untimely death of Henrietta on this very day, 4th of October 1951. We're here in the historic Royal Fort Gardens at the heart of the University of Bristol campus for the official unveiling of the newly commissioned statue of Henrietta Lacks by local Bristolian artist Helen Wilson-Roe. Henrietta Lacks was an African-American woman whose cervical cancer cells, known as HeLa cells, were the first to ever survive and multiply outside the laboratory, outside the body in a laboratory. And they've since been used in a series of major medical advances, including the development of the polio vaccine, chemotherapy, and IVF. The reason these cells are so widely used is because of their incredible versatility. They're able to divide rapidly. What do I mean by that? Think of this. One of Henrietta Lacks' cells, just one, they're tiny cells. One would divide into two within 24 hours. Two cells would divide into four another 24 hours later. Those would divide into 8 another day later. 80 days later, left unchecked, those cells were divided into enough HeLa cells to cover the entire surface of the planet Earth. So Henrietta's cells, metaphorically speaking, will have touched everybody on this planet. They've led to some of the most major medical advances we know of, which should be made available to everybody on this planet. But we do know that there is still terrible inequity in access to good healthcare and medical advances. Anyway, over the next 30 minutes, as we unveil the statue, we will hear from a number of guests who have come here to help us mark this occasion. First, we're going to hear from Professor Judith Squires, Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost of the University of Bristol and Chair of our Anti-Racism Steering Group. We will then unveil the statue and then hear from Lawrence Lacks, Henrietta's son, and Jerry Lacks, Henrietta's granddaughter, followed by Helen Wilson-Roe, the artist. Helen, there you are, thank you. Marvin Rees, the Mayor of Bristol, and Cleo Lake, the former Mayor of Bristol. But Judith, first over to you.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I am Judith Squires, as Jeremy said, the Deputy Vice-Chancellor and Provost here at the University of Bristol. And I'm genuinely delighted to welcome you all here today to this very special event. And I'd like to extend particular thanks to the Lacks family and to the HeLa 100 team for flying over from America to join us today. Thank you. Now, you may be wondering why the University of Bristol decided to commission this artwork. As Jeremy said, last year marked the centenary of Henrietta's birth, and this year is the 70th anniversary of her death and the HeLa cell use. Henrietta Lacks' legacy to science research and healthcare globally simply cannot be underestimated. And here at the University of Bristol, we've used the HeLa cells in our research, even publishing a paper in Science just last year on work into the virus that caused COVID-19. This statue celebrates the impact these cells have made to our research and to research around the world, and to the amazing legacy of Henrietta Lacks. The university also has a strong commitment to engaging with artists to create high-quality public art that resonates with and celebrates our values. And this statue of Henrietta Lacks embodies this precisely. We're proud to be supporting local artist Helen Wilson-Roe, who has a special relationship with the Lacks family, in her ambition to create and display a permanent memorial to celebrate the life of Henrietta Lacks and the global impact of her cells. As we know here in Bristol, public art can be powerful, evoking strong emotions. Public art is perhaps most powerful when it supports a sense of community identity and inspires public discourse. Permanent memorials allow us to celebrate inspiring stories and people, making visible stories that were otherwise invisible to many people. And we hope and anticipate that this sculpture will foster debate about the role of consent in cell research, inspire new conversations, and generate fresh insights into the conduct of scientific research itself. Crucially, the unveiling of this statue also starts to address the lack of representation of women and women of colour in public artwork in a city that is so multicultural. It places this wonderfully strong representation of Henrietta Lacks at the heart of our university, supporting our work to foster a sense of welcome and belonging to our Black staff and students. This statue sits in Royal Fort Gardens at the very heart of our campus. It joins other wonderful pieces of public artwork, including Jeppe Heim's Follow Me and Katie Patterson's The Hollow, which are just adjacent to here. And one of the things that all of these public artworks at the university have in common is they're produced by artists for a public space to be enjoyed by everybody in our community. And this is absolutely a public space. And I invite you all and the wider public to come and visit this statue and our other public artworks and to engage in what they offer to us all. This unveiling today adds to our efforts to create an anti-racist university. Other actions that we're taking include the landmark 1 million Black Bristol Scholarships programme, which has welcomed its first cohort of talented students this month. And I'm really proud to be announcing the launch of the Henrietta Lacks Studentship, a six-week paid summer internship for an undergraduate student to work in our laboratories on cell biology. And with the support of the Lacks family, we're planning free in-person visits to the University of key stage 4 and 5 pupils to learn more about cell biology. Other education science events in both the UK and overseas are also being planned. At Bristol, we're also actively decolonising our curriculum, both at the university and more widely via our online Future Learn course. And in the Faculty of Life Sciences in particular, we've been working with staff and students to look at how we can diversify our teaching and look at how we can highlight previously overlooked figures, which will focus on Henrietta Lacks in particular and the important ethical issues and debates that are a part of her story. We're also decolonising our cultural collections and our campus, including consultation on renaming our buildings where appropriate. Finally, as the centennial celebrations of Henrietta Lacks highlight, it's really important to recognise the invaluable contributions of Black people of African descent have made to science. And I'd like to mention that Bristol is seeking to play our part to champion true transformation in how the global North Africa research partnerships unfold by launching a landmark new funding scheme from the Perivole African Research Centre opening up applications from African-based researchers at African universities to lead Africa-centred projects in collaboration with colleagues here at the University of Bristol. So let me conclude by thanking in particular Helen Wilson-Roe, the artist. Thank you, Helen. The entire project team that worked so hard to create this statue, which included members of the university and much more widely. Thank you, everybody in the project team. And let me also thank the Biochemical Society, the Royal Society of Chemistry, the Heritage Lottery Fund, our alumni who gave so generously in support of the project, and of course all of the generous donations to the crowdfunder from members of the public, staff and students. Thank you all. And I'd now like to welcome the following members of the family to come and join me over here to unveil the statue and to give their address. And I'd like you to welcome Lawrence Lacks, who is the son of Henrietta, Jerry Lacks Y, granddaughter of Henrietta, Alan Wilkes, grandson, and his wife Pam, and Veronica Robinson and Victoria Baptiste, who are the great-granddaughters of Henrietta Lacks. Welcome. Are you happy to come? Lovely to see you.
Say thank you to everybody. Say thank you on behalf of your mom.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Lawrence Lacks, Henrietta's oldest son, and I'm here to help with to explain what I do know about it, and maybe all y'all can help me gather more information. So I'm willing to have some questions to ask if you want to know.
Just say thank you.
And I want to thank you all for coming to listen to me. Thank everybody for being here. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Jerry Lacks Y, and I'm the granddaughter of Henrietta Lacks. David Sonny Lacks is my father, which is Henrietta's middle son. Thank you with an incredible moment of our family to share with the world. Greetings to all who have joined us to recognize my grandmother, Henrietta Lacks. The Lacks family is honored to begin our HeLa 100 worldwide tour with the University of Bristol and with Helen Wilson-Roe for the unveiling of this historic statue of our grandmother. Our sincere thanks to our friends, Helen Wilson-Roe, the University of Bristol's Dr. Hughes Brady, Jeremy Tavera, hope I pronounced that correctly, sorry, Judith Square and Carolyn McKinnon, as well as Mayor Marvin Reeves, former Lord Mayor Cleo Lake, and noted guests. I stand here with my Uncle Lawrence Lacks and bring greetings from my father, David Sonny Lacks, both of Henrietta's remaining living sons, with a humbling occasion to represent the Lacks family. After all, Henrietta Lacks' legacy lives on in us. This is truly a full circle moment to be standing here for the unveiling of the statue. On International Women's Day, I was proud to virtually speak at the announcement of the University of Bristol's historic commission of our friend and artist Helen Wilson-Roe to create a sculpture of Henrietta Lacks. Today, as the world commemorates 70 years since Henrietta Lacks' HeLa cell changed the world, as we all reflect on my grandmother's untimely death. The statue is not just a symbol, instead is a physical manifestation of what happens when we come together to advocate for change, educate the next generation, and advance equity for all. Let this statue also reflect a way forward. showing how leaders can work in their communities to acknowledge the inevitable contributions Black people have made to science, medicine, the arts, and beyond. It is incredible to see our Henny rightfully honored for her worldwide impact. She is the one who has saved lives and given to countless people around the world, making extraordinary contributions to science and medicine for all people. In closing, thank you for bringing to life the legacy of the iconic woman, wife, and mother who unknowingly became the mother of modern medicine for generations to come in Bristol, the University Kingdom, and around the world. Thank you for ensuring generations to come will say her name, Henrietta Lacks. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you.
Come on, I got you. Take your time.
Just remember, speak much more slowly than feels natural, and you'll be fine.
Okay, I think we can have some more photo ops at the end, but I can see the emotion. I can see the emotion in everybody's face. It's incredible. Well done, Jerry. Brilliant. Well, thank you very much to the family for unveiling the statue. A lot of emotion, absolutely beautiful moment, unique moment. The statue of Henrietta is by Bristol-based artist Helen Wilson-Roe, who I know was inspired by Henrietta's story over 20 years ago and has been instrumental in heightening its exposure. She's worked very closely with the Lacks children and grandchildren, exploring their memory, pride and perspectives whilst paying heed to issues of social injustice and scientific ethics. I'd now like to invite Helen to speak a little bit more about the process of creating this artwork and her inspiration and connection to Henrietta. Helen.
Thank you. First of all, I just had an email from Bristol City Council saying the planning application for the statue has been successful. Thank you, Bristol City Council. Anyway, Henrietta is one of the most significant women in the world. We should be forever grateful and acknowledge her for the contributions her cells have made for global health. I hope you can see the passion, strength and power when you look at my interpretation of Henrietta. It's timely that today, 70 years on, we stand side by side with her family to celebrate Henrietta Lacks and remember she was more than a cell. My connection with Henrietta's story began 24 years ago when a friend called Damien Duncan, recommended a BBC documentary called The Way of All Flesh. The documentary was about Henrietta Lacks. After hearing about how she had given humanity so much in her death, I decided to dedicate my life to telling her incredible story, using my art practice as a tool. In 2012, I travelled to America with my husband, John Rowe. There you are, John. Sorry. We had the honour of meeting 24 members of the Lacks family. The family were so welcoming, and having some of them here today sharing this historical event is a true blessing, and the sun came out. As an artist, I struggled to obtain funding for my Henrietta Lacks project. This time last year, I feared that the project would not be funded. However, last October, at the launch of the exhibition of my paintings of Clio Lake and Henrietta Lacks at the Wills Building, I was introduced to Jeremy and Judith. They agreed to help me honour Henrietta Lacks by commissioning me to make a bronze sculpture. At that point, I hadn't told them I've never sculpted anything in my life. There you go. From today, Bristol will forever be linked to Henrietta and the Lacks family, a fantastic achievement for everyone involved in the project. And given her heritage as an African-American woman and Bristol's links to the slave trade, this is an important statement for Bristol. Bringing about change can be a slow process. However, my grandmother, my mother and sister are from Jamaica. I have strong Jamaican blood running through my veins. This has helped me keep my focus and continue to fight justice. I'll never give up. I would like to thank the University of Bristol, most of all Jeremy and Judith, for having the courage, integrity and understanding of the value, significance and connection Henrietta's statue will evoke. Understanding the importance of commissioning me to make a statue of a black woman in a public space is a progressive step forward in the continuing fight for equality. I consider myself a Bristolian. You might have gathered that in my accent. Having spent most of my life living in the Bristol area, Southmead, and all the Meaders that are here, we are strong people. Yeah, I hear you, I see you there. And Easton, Bristol, another area that was looked down on, but we have strong people there as well. As a child growing up here, there were no statues of black women. So right now, knowing that my children and their children will be able to see this statue is fantastic for anyone who feels sidelined, exploited and ignored. I would also like to thank Lol Knockels, Matt Healy, Anthony Stone and Luke Twigger for their incredible advice and expertise while I created the sculpture. They're here today. Could you make yourself known? Yeah. I have to say quickly, because we've only got a few seconds, that working in their studio space was the highlight of my career. I got up every morning and I couldn't wait to just go to the studio. Matt was my kind of guide and taught me how to sculpt. He was hardcore, I have to say. My God, the only person that can properly take me on. But I remember one day I froze and I just couldn't sculpt. And he switched on the radio, and it wasn't some kind of pod thing. And Henrietta's great-granddaughter was speaking, Veronica, and that propelled me to carry on. And I could just hear Veronica's voice echoing around the studio while I was sculpting Henrietta. And I just knew that sometimes there's something more than we can explain. There's something out there. And I felt very connected to Henrietta spiritually. My model, Nicola Thompson, thank you for being the perfect body reference for Henrietta. I know you're here somewhere. Where are you? Yes, there you go. And Jasmine for Nicole's hair. There's a moment I'll never forget. So when Nicole tried on, we got a suit from the BBC, which is an authentic 1950s suit. And they kind of said, oh yeah, most people don't really kind of fit into these suits, especially nowadays. When Nicola put the suit on, it fitted you like a glove, didn't it? And we were just like emotional then and emotional now, so thank you. What was I saying? Sorry. I'd also like to thank Professor Craig McArdle for mentoring me and for showing me Henrietta cells firsthand here in Bristol many years ago. Craig opened the scientific doors to my world. He introduced me to John Lane and Harry Mellor, two more Bristol scientists who shared their knowledge of working with Henrietta cells. A big shout out to my husband, John Rowe, my husband who listened to me talk about Henrietta for over 24 years. His support, along with my family and friends, has been invaluable. Norma Rowe, David Rowe, they're here today. They've travelled from Devon. I can see, yeah. Otis, my son, and Ben, Anthony, and my adopted daughter, Sangeeta, and my whole family and my whole friends. I couldn't do this without you all. You forever pick me up. Thank you, Francesca Hopkin, my friend and brilliant manager, for volunteering your time, support, and positive energy. I couldn't have done this without you. We've had a lot of laughs, I have to say. Thank you, Deborah Arnott, for volunteering your media advice, for keeping me focused, trying to stop me from being angry, trying to encourage me to smile when I don't like smiling naturally. Thank you. You're amazing. Joan Fieldthorne for mentoring and supporting me, also the owner of my Cleo Lake portrait. Cleo Lake, you have been instrumental in helping me finalise this project by highlighting my art practice and challenging any opposition. Thank you. Emma, Henry and Alex and all the events team and all the university teams. There's about at least 3 Richards that I need to thank. A big shout out to all the Bristol performers that will be performing tonight. You're some of the most talented and spiritual artists I know. Chrissy Chris, Kinsman, Sharon Winters, Ruth Pitter and your whole team. I hope I haven't missed anybody out. I'm sure I have, but sorry. A big shout out to all the Bristol performers. I've just said that, sorry. Thank you, Caroline, for introducing me to Jerry and Judith and the HeLa team for bringing members of the Lacks family together. Anthony for keeping me sane. My mission continues to be to finish oil paintings of the Lacks family and gift those to their families so they can retain complete control of their legacy. 24 oil paintings I've dedicated my life to complete. I've only done 11 so far. I need to continue to landscape the area around the statue by planting red shrubs, trees and plants in memory of Henrietta's favourite colour, red, with the help of Alan Steely. Secure an education programme, which Judith has just said is already initiated, for it to go into the national curriculum. Complete my documentary about the making of the Henrietta statue. The Henrietta Lacks statue stands as a permanent reminder that black women contribute to society globally. Our feminine power cannot be suppressed anymore. May our ancestors continue to show us the way to walk. Thank you, Henrietta. We will never forget you. We finally have somewhere in Bristol where we can pay our respects to our ancestors. You're more than just a cell. Okay. The other performer is Samora, sorry.
Thank you so much, Helen. You can see what a journey that was, and what a beautiful, beautiful statue, powerful statue. So I would now like to invite Marvin Rees and Cleo Lake to say a few words about the importance of this statue to the city. Marvin Rees is a Bristolian and is the elected Mayor of Bristol. He took position in May 2016, and on that day, Bristol became the first major European city to have an elected mayor of black African heritage. And Cleo Lake is a Bristol-born creative who served as the Lord Mayor of Bristol between 2018 and 2019, and was part of the team who passed a reparations motion in March of this year, starting a process of reconciliation and atonement for Bristol's role in the historic transatlantic traffic of enslaved Africans, the EA, and its contemporary legacies. So Marvin, over to you, and then Cleo.
Well, I like the reference to Eastern, that's true. And being a Eastern boy, I didn't have much to do with statues until I was elected. But this last 18 months, they've become quite familiar to me. I just want to start by saying thank you to everyone who's been so central to this. Thank you to the Lacks family for being with us today. And I've just shared, ironically, I've just been in New York with the mayor of Baltimore as well, young 37-year-old African-American man showing the way. Really wanted to be an example of us stepping into leadership like this, and Baltimore's where you're from. So thank you for being with us. Thank you, obviously, to Helen. You know, amazing words, and the emotion just, I'm looking for you, but I can't. Oh, there you go. The emotion just pouring out and just showing just how significant, moments like this are, not just for the moment, but for the futures ahead. And I'm just saying this is going to be here for decades, if not centuries. And thank you to the University of Bristol as well for stepping up. And, you know, it's been great. No, the City Council is not perfect. There are no perfect organisations, but what we need are organisations willing to look at their complexity, look at their contradictions, and take that first step. And I often share, you know, that we want revolutionary change. We want change yesterday, but sometimes it's about knocking the dial just 1 or 2 degrees. And at the time, it doesn't feel like much. But 10 miles down the road, you're in a totally different place than the one where you would have been if you hadn't made that subtle change. And we need to do all those things at the same time. This, to me, is all at the same time big and bold, and revolutionary makes a huge statement. But it's also part of that knocking of the dial, another story, you know, another acknowledgement of the contributions, people history has tried to keep invisible have made to who we are. So it's a source of great pride and humility. It's a source of pride because this is in Bristol, there is a global audience, and we are now part of retelling the world story, telling Henrietta's story, but retelling the world story, because this is a world story, and humility as well, because we know the scale of the contribution made, and we know also the scale of injustices that played themselves out over decades to keep Henrietta's story invisible to the world, that are now being broken down and broken through. And we remember historically those great wisdoms in so many of our traditions that always say, remember who you are, remember where you come from, tell your children, do not forget your story. Ben Okri said, if you want to destroy a people, poison the stories they tell about themselves. You could also say, eliminate the stories people tell about themselves so they don't know who they are and who they come from. And the inscription on the bottom of the plaque, and I stole a quick view there, to all the unrecognized black women who have contributed to humanity, you will never be forgotten. And we stand by that today. Thank you.
Greetings, everyone, and I'm also from Easton. I should start by saying that. It's a great honour to be here today to witness this statue unveiling on a significant date that also falls within year 6 of the UN Decade for People of African Descent, premised on recognition, justice, and development. I want to start by publicly acknowledging Helen for her dedication and tenacity in getting us here, with her decades-plus quest to tell Henrietta's story to more people through her extensive research and artwork. In 2018, Helen and I replaced a Gainsborough portrait of Maangamizi criminal Lord Nugent with Helen's portrait of Henrietta in the Lord Mayor's parlour. Bristol, Virginia, Jamaica, Ghana, and other countries are represented here today. Our links are deep, wide, and at some junctures painful, as we work together as a university, institutions, communities to reconcile, atone, repair, and revive our humanity in a way that must be collaborative yet uncompromising in its mission. As a person of African Jamaican descent, I prefer to consider our history not by the particular tragic triangle chronology, but rather as an open quadrangle that starts before that triangle, transcending us back to an African-centered millennia and to the positives of who we were, and forwards us to a future that is not closed nor concluded on who we will become. The little that is remembered, the little that it remembers, retention in this cytology. Fuse, fathom, and find assistance through soul science. The stillness, the poise, the power that resides in inanimate objects. On days like this, we reclaim our comfort and joy, reaffirming ourselves as family amidst our great ancestors, and reframe the landscape for the better. Thank you, Bristol University. Thank you, Helen. Thank you to Henrietta and to Henrietta's family. Ashe.
Thank you, Cleo. Thank you, Marvin. Before we finish, I mean, we've had lots of thank yous today, and I just do want to have a final thank you to the Lacks family. I can't believe you've come all this way for us, but the sun and Henrietta have shone on us today. Thank you. And I hope that the HeLa 100 celebration goes very well. Welcome to everybody online, and also hello to all the Lacks family members who were unable to join you. A special hello to them. So just to Helen again, thank you for creating this beautiful and powerful statue and everything it stands for. I'm feeling quite emotional. I know you are. This is the end. This is the beginning of a long journey. The journey doesn't end, does it? It carries on. So. But thank you very much indeed, Helen. It's beautiful. Secondly, to Jaisona, Sharia and Falasha from the HeLa 100 team, again, thank you very much for coming over and for having belief in this project and for their help in organisation, along with Emma Henry and her amazing team at the University of Bristol. If anybody, I don't think the Vice-Chancellor will allow me to say this, but if anybody wants an event organised, Emma and her team are just amazing. And finally, a thank you to my colleague Caroline McKinnon, without whose vision, energy and hard work this just wouldn't have been possible. But also, we've heard Alan Steely's name. Alan immediately found this site for the statue. This is a site in the university that is visited by pretty much every student, pretty much every member of staff, and it is a public, open space. They will all see Henrietta, and I'm really proud of that. Please tell your friends to come and see her, contemplate her, and what she stands for, and the medical advances she's contributed to. And as we know, the garden will be planted with red in time. And I think that would be the perfect addition. Thank you to everybody for coming. I'm glad it stayed dry, and have a good rest of the day. Goodbye.